Well, I freely admit that it's been far too long that I've been promising this one, and I do apologize for the unintended delay. I've just been lazy, what can I say? What am I talking about? Blade Runner, the Briefcase edition. Now, of course, I originally promised you guys this one back in April of 2008 when I was doing the Uber Boxed Sets installment of my DVD collection overview series. And, yeah, so here it is almost a year later, and I'm finally doing it. Well, better late than never. Let's get right down to it, shall we? Welcome back. Okay, so at long last, Blade Runner. Look, I can barely even fit myself on the screen. This thing is so huge. It like takes up almost the full widescreen window. This is probably one of my favorite boxed sets. First off, it's one of my favorite movies, and as any longtime Blade Runner fan will attest to, all us Blade Runner fans were waiting a really long time for a proper DVD release of it. And in the end, it turned out to be good that it took so long, because we ended up getting the deluxe treatment in a way that I don't think any of us ever anticipated or would have believed was going to happen if anybody had told us that a few years ago. Because, man, did they ever do a good job on this set. Now, the first thing, before we get into the contents here, you may notice this is the DVD edition and not the Blu-ray edition. Very simple reason for that. When I originally got this, we hadn't bought our PS3 yet, and we weren't exactly sure when we were going to get one. We knew we were going to get one eventually, but we weren't quite sure when. And it was kind of a tough decision at the time, because I got this as a Christmas present, and I was kind of debating whether or not should I ask for the Blu-ray edition, because I know I'm going to get the Blu-ray edition eventually, or should I just ask for the DVD edition for now, so we can at least watch it, and then I can just get the discs on Blu-ray later. Well, in the end, you can see what I opted to do. I just couldn't bear to be apart from Blade Runner for that long, because I didn't know how long it was going to be until we got our PS3. As it turns out, we got it about 5 months later. But, yeah, so, anyway, that said, let's get down to the contents of the set, shall we? This is going to be a long one, because there's a lot of swag in here, and a lot of stuff to talk about, and this is just, well, dude, and dudette, and unknowns. It's Blade Runner. You can talk about Blade Runner until the end of time. So let's talk about Blade Runner. Alrighty. Now, this is one I know a lot of you have been waiting a long time for, so let's just dive right in here. This, of course, is Blade Runner, the Briefcase Collector's Edition. This set actually won a lot of awards the year it came out as Best Deluxe Set. I think Digital Bits was unanimous that this was the best collector's set of the year, bar none. So let's take a look at what's in it. Now, as I mentioned, this is, of course, I do have the standard DVD edition, not the Blu-ray edition. This originally came out in 3 versions. There was DVD, Blu-ray, and HD DVD, actually. It came out right in the midst of the format war of a couple years ago now. So, first thing is you take a look at the back, and it gives you a quick look at all the contents, which is quite nice. Now, this is kind of interesting because I don't think I've ever really seen this on a collector's set before. It's actually a clear plastic sheet that just slides off. And there you go. So, you know, you usually have a piece of paper glued on the back or something, but it's actually a clear plastic sheet that I keep around because it gives you the contents, and it also helps to protect the actual briefcase. So the briefcase itself is made of hard plastic, and it's all raised and bumpy, which is quite nice. You can probably see a little bit of the texture there in the light. And it's bumpy on the back as well. And this is meant to duplicate the briefcase that Deckard uses in the movie to carry around the Voight-Kampff test that he uses to test whether or not someone is a replicant. As a matter of fact, if you look on the top there, you'll see the Voight-Kampff logo, which is pretty cool. So the way it opens up is much like a regular briefcase. You have 2 little buttons on the front that pops the top. And let's take a look. So you open her up, and the top folds right back. So I can't really get the whole thing in the picture, but okay. So we'll start at the top section here. I'll let you take a look at that. Now the first thing, those of you who watched the I Am Legend video will have seen this kind of thing. It's a little tricky to get out. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Let me just see which way it goes. Okay, it goes like this. So if you take a look, it's another one of those motion things, like seen. It's really hard to show on camera, but once again, a notable point in the film. You can play back and forth. So quite cool. They call that lenticular motion art, I believe. Anyway, what's this little card in here? This little card is a little card. Oh, I guess it's just, it's a white card so you can see this better when it's in the case. So you can actually see the artwork a little better. And then inside, you'll see there's like a plastic envelope, and there's a folder inside it with the Blade Runner logo on it. You open up the folder, and look at that. You got all this awesome concept art. I'm not usually a big concept art freak, but Blade Runner in particular, the concept art was all done by Sid Mead, who's like one of the world's foremost futurists and conceptual designers for sort of future technology and things like that. And he did some amazing work. Oh, and here's one by Mentor Hubner, who's another designer. But Sid Mead did primarily the futuristic designs and sort of helped to design the mechanics, I guess, of the future society that it's set in. So this is, got some storyboards on here as well, and stuff like that. So very nice collection of art cards. Actually, here's, speaking of the Voight-Kampff test, this is a conceptual design for that test. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, so some great stuff. Definitely want to keep those in nice condition. And then inside the folder itself, you get even more artwork, which is quite nice. So that's just the top half of the briefcase. Moving down, put this in very carefully. Moving down to the bottom half is where we get more into the meat of the set. Now the first thing is you have this clear plastic sheet. It's kind of hard to read. Let me just grab a piece of white paper and then you can see it a little better. So we put a piece of white paper in behind there. Ah, there you go. You can see that a lot better. I don't know why they did it clear. Maybe just a stylistic choice. So you have another piece of concept art there. And then you have a personal letter, yes, Dear Occupant, from Ridley Scott himself, where he talks about the making of, a little bit about the final cut and how the final cut came to be. Now getting into the swag, I'm not going to bother explaining the significance of these items. If you've seen the movie, you should know. If you haven't seen the movie, see the movie, and then you will know. So first off, we have a replica of the Origami Unicorn, which plays quite a significant part in the movie. It appears very briefly in the movie, but it holds a lot of significance and has been the subject of much discussion over the years. Now this is actually plastic. It's not an actual paper origami thing, but would have been a little too fragile, I think. So anyway, this is a plastic replica of it to duplicate the look of it, which is quite nice. So that fits right in there. You notice the foam is cut basically perfectly to fit the unicorn in a snug but not too snug fashion, so it keeps it safe. And this is really cool. This was almost the reason I got it in and of itself. A replica, an actual scale replica of one of the police spinners. So this is the flying cars that you see in the movie. So the police have flying cars. And one thing that's cool is the doors actually open in the same fashion as they do in the movie. So that's pretty neat, eh? So there you go. The wheels don't turn or anything. Well, actually these wheels do. these wheels turn. So it is a functional little action figure car kind of thing. There's not a lot of detail in the... sorry, that's not very focused, is it? Anyway, there's not a lot of detail in the cockpit, but the main thing is just to have like a nice little replica of it. I didn't actually realize that they're colored blue. I always thought they were black in the movie. Maybe I was just watching crappy prints. I don't know. Or it's probably just due to the lighting, because they actually do look black in a lot of the shots, but they're actually colored blue, like this. This is kind of interesting. So once again, custom fit foam. Now this is where things may differ a little bit, because I've seen the Blu-ray edition, and the Blu-ray edition essentially comes... Everything is exactly the same. Just like with the I Am Legend set, how the DVD and Blu-ray edition have the same contents, it's the same deal with the Blade Runner set. Okay, everything's the same. The only difference is you get the 5 movies in high definition in the Blu-ray version. So, needless to say, I will be picking up the Blu-ray version at some point, but I'm not going to repurchase the whole set, because they actually do offer the 5-disc, the 5 discs in a separate collection, where it's just the 5 discs in a Blu-ray case. So which is kind of nice actually that they did that. It's the only format I'm aware of the 3 where they offered the 5-disc version outside of the collector's set. The DVD collection, the only way you can get the 5 discs is to get this collection here. If you want to get it outside of that, the best you can do is a 4-disc set. What's the difference? Well, the main thing is the 5th disc that's in this collection and in the Blu-ray collection is the work print, which is one of the rarest versions of Blade Runner and one of the most highly sought after by fans. So the only way to get the work print, along with the other versions of the film, is to get the 5-disc version, because that's disc 5. So that said, the Blu-ray version actually just has it in a plain Blu-ray case with I think it's the Final Cut cover or something similar to that. I kind of like this design better actually, because it's more in tone with the look and feel of the movie. You know, it's got this kind of gritty, dirty metal look to it, which mirrors the look of the city. So you slide it out. It's just a standard slip case, and then you got some more pictures on there. Combination of photos and concept art. It's quite nice. And then you have your standard gatefold digipack. So we take a look here first. We have disc 1, which is the Final Cut, which is the all-time definitive director's cut. Disc 2 is the epic-length documentary Dangerous Days, which is all about the making of Blade Runner, from concept to production problems to finished product to cult status. It goes through the whole thing. I forget how long it is. It's like 3 or 4 hours long. It's quite an extensive documentary. In fact, it's probably the lengthiest documentary, like single documentary I've seen about the making of a movie since watching the Lord of the Rings extended trilogy, the extras for that. And then here we have disc 4, which is, we'll go to disc 3 first. Disc 3 is where you'll find some of the alternate versions of the film. There's of course the original theatrical cut, the international theatrical cut, which is the one that actually was the home video version for a very long time everywhere. So the theatrical cut actually I don't think has even been seen since it was in theaters, except for maybe a few lucky people who happen to have a copy. But for the most part, the theatrical cut has been unseen until this edition, because the international version was the home video version for a long time, until 1992 when the director's cut version came out, which wasn't really a director's cut. But that's a whole other story, which you can watch Dangerous Days to get the story behind. So this also includes the 1992 director's cut. So basically they've done one of those good old-fashioned seamless branching things, where they've crammed all 3 versions onto one disc, using the seamless branching, so you can see all the different versions. Of all the different versions, the only one I actually haven't watched, funny enough, is the theatrical cut. So far we have 4 versions of the movie. We've got the Final Cut, we've got the original theatrical version, international theatrical version, and the director's cut. Then on disc 4 is, they call it the Enhancement Archive. It's basically just a selection of assorted supplements. There's some featurettes on there, and promotional stuff, and some auditions, and all kinds of good stuff. There's just tons and tons and tons of extras on there. I mean, you could literally spend probably the better part of a week going through all the extras and all the different versions of the film. There's commentaries and just tons and tons and tons of stuff. Actually, I'll get to the booklet there in a second. And then finally, disc 5 is the highly sought after work print. And once again, if you're getting DVD, the only way to get this disc is to get the Briefcase set. If you got Blu-ray, you can get it either in the Briefcase set or with the 5-disc set available separately. The 5-disc set available separately is actually fairly inexpensive considering how much stuff is in it. It's 5 discs like this, but it's only about $40. In fact, I've seen it for going for as little as $35. That's pretty damn good considering just the sheer wealth of material in here. And in case you're wondering, the Blu-ray version, the supplements are standard definition, but the movies, all the different versions of the movies, even the work print, are high definition. So you get the whole works in high definition. You get to see every single movie in the best possible way you can outside of seeing it in the theater. So definitely worth it. So yeah, basically what I'm going to do is pick up the Blu-ray set just to have it on Blu-ray, but I'm going to keep the standard def Briefcase set. So yeah, Blade Runner is the kind of film I don't mind double dipping on, especially when it's such an amazing set like this, and I definitely want to support the efforts. So finally, we have the insert, like the booklet here, which goes into detail about what's on each disc, and it's probably going to just duplicate a lot of what I already said. So it gives you the chapter list. So this is disc 1, the final cut. Dangerous Days. It doesn't say what the running time is anyway. So just basically a little bit about the documentary. Yeah, they call disc 3 the archival versions because it's the 3 previous versions that everybody's seen, mostly. And it gives you, they have the same chapter list for all of them because they're basically the same movie. There's just a few minor differences. So there you go. And then we have just some photos. Then disc 4, the Enhancement Archive. They got, oh yeah, I forgot about it. They have some featurettes about Philip K. Dick and things like that. And they talk about some of the graphic design, wardrobe, screen test for Rachel and Pris. To clarify, the screen tests for Rachel and Pris are not the actresses who made it into the movie. They're actually screen tests for other actresses they had in mind for those roles. And then they were turned down in favor of Sean Young and Daryl Hannah. Yes, I knew there was something I was forgetting. There's a deleted scenes archive on disc 4 that is absolute pure gold because it's got the whole thing, all the deleted scenes are edited together in story order, okay? And it also features all of Harrison Ford's narration, like a voiceover narration that he did, all the takes that didn't make it into the movie. So the narration is used to kind of tell the story as you're watching the deleted scenes. So it plays out essentially, and it's like an hour long almost. So it's kind of like a condensed 6th version of the movie. It's really cool, and you get to see a lot of stuff that you don't get to see in any of the cuts. So it's really a real treat for Blade Runner fans because there's just so much good stuff in there. And they have the longevity section, which is essentially a collection of trailers and promotional featurettes. And they have a gallery of poster art and things like that. And the final word on whether or not Deckard is a replicant, you'll have to watch the set to find out. And then, of course, the work print. And there's a featurette, actually, on the work print disc talking about all the various versions of the movie that have appeared over the years. So, yeah, as I was saying, Digital Bits was pretty much unanimous giving this boxed set of the year for 2007. And very deservedly so, I think, because this is, without question, one of the single most awesome boxed sets I've ever got. I mean, for a movie, I should say, for a movie. I don't really like to include TV show sets in the same category because, you know, by their very nature, TV show sets are going to be massive. But just for a movie, and for one as notable as Blade Runner, it was such a treat to finally have this definitive edition available. So if you're a fan of the movie, or if you just want to learn more about it and see what all the hoo-ha's about, check out this set, or at the very least rent the 5-disc version for like a week or something and work your way through it because it's really some interesting stuff. Whew! I think that's the longest boxed set contents segment I've ever done. And you know what? I'm not even going to split it up into multiple parts. I'm just going to show you the whole damn thing in one go because I know that you'll love it and that you want to see it. So I'm not going to waste any time. Not going to split it up into parts just to, have a few more videos. No, I'm going to give it all to you at once because I'm just nice like that. I figure it's the least I can do given how long I made you wait for it. Yeah, for a long time there was like diddly squat on DVD for Blade Runner. Blade Runner was actually one of the first wave DVD releases that Warner Brothers put out. And they put out a plain Jane, like a bare bones DVD of the director's cut, or specifically the 1992 director's cut. And this was back in 1997 or 98 that the DVD came out. And it was a non-anamorphic 4x3 letterboxed widescreen release, non-remastered, and just garbage quality. And for a long time, it was the only version available. And fans were clamoring for, why don't we have a deluxe edition of Blade Runner? I mean, it's a modern classic. It's so highly regarded. It really deserves the deluxe treatment. Everybody agreed. Warner Brothers agreed. Ridley Scott agreed. In fact, Ridley Scott started working on the final cut, to get it ready in time for the 20th anniversary. And it just wasn't happening. The main reason was, they go into this in the Dangerous Days documentary a fair amount. The main reason was, to summarize very briefly without going into too much detail, they were over budget and they needed some additional money to finish the movie. So they basically brought in some independent financiers to front the money to let them finish the movie. Rather than compromise the movie quality. They felt that they had something special and they wanted to really, do a good job of it. So they brought in some independent backers to finance the completion of the film. Well, one of those backers was basically sitting on the rights and didn't want to let them go and didn't want to let Warner Brothers re-release the film. He didn't feel that it was, up to snuff, and he, I guess, just didn't like the movie. I don't know. Whatever the story was. Whatever his personal reasons. Basically, he was being a jerk about it and didn't want to release the film again. I can't believe the baby's awake again. She is like just not wanting to nap today. I'll be back. Well, it's about 12 hours later and the baby's finally gone back to sleep. No, it didn't actually take that long. Basically, she was done with napping, so she was up for the rest of the day. And then, of course, Annetta came home, so Annetta and I were hanging out and stuff. And then, so anyway, Annetta's gone to bed. The baby's back to bed. And I can finally finish the last 30 seconds of this video, which I'm wasting babbling about what happened in the past 12 hours, which you really don't care about. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, obviously, Warner Brothers sorted out whatever the issue was, because here's the proof. So big kudos to Warner Brothers, because they gave us what we've been waiting for a very long time, and they gave it to us in spades. There was the Briefcase edition. They re-released a remastered version of the 1992 director's cut. They released several editions of the final cut. They released the 4-disc edition for those who didn't want to shell out for the other edition, or for this edition, and they put out the 5-disc edition as a separate Blu-ray set. And yeah, I actually lost track of how many different editions they put out. It's like they had been making up for the 10 plus years it had been since the original crappy edition was out and giving the fans what they'd been wanting all this time. I think somebody really high up in Warner Brothers must also be a Blade Runner fan. What do you think? Anyway, that's the Blade Runner Briefcase set. Get it, love it, it's awesome. Unless, of course, you hate Blade Runner, in which case you're probably not even watching this far into the video. Alrighty, so that's it for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.